like, because it's a family member, like, I'll never talk to you again. I'm not coming Thanksgiving. I'm not coming to Christmas. And that can be a very lonely road, You talked about having the strength to enter back into relationships with them because it's not constant. And I want to introduce the word, well, you probably heard it because you're in their program, but introduce the word emotional cushion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So building up that emotional cushion so that when you are in the situation, if they are throwing jabs or digs or trying to whatever to you, make you feel small in any way, you have enough emotional cushion that it doesn't get in as deeply.
Yes. Yes,
That
absolutely.
time and space and the healing work you're doing through the Wondrous Woman program is giving you that emotional cushion. Right? Because sometimes we
Right.
think of strength as like, oh, if my brother says something at Thanksgiving, I'm going to stand up and tell him I'm not putting up with that anymore. And there's a lot of varieties of strength and a lot of varieties. It's like a toolbox. And sometimes we need the hammer, and sometimes we need the screwdriver, and sometimes we need a tape measure. And so many women after toxic relationships or discovering that they've been a doormat or they've been manipulated or they've been tricked, they think the only option is going around swinging hammers.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you can forgive without giving access.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense
And
completely.
have peace in yourself and peace in your soul, but also saying, well, no, I'm not going to pick up the phone and drop everything I'm doing just because you you know you weren't responsible for your own life, or you're trying to get me to do the work of the relationship, or you're trying to get me to make breakfast and lunch. we should talk about some other stuff and didn't talk about that. But yeah, you're describing all situations where they're expecting you to do the work of the relationship and them to avoid responsibility, um, their own growth, accountability, all those things. It's all on you, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. Um, so what are some ways you build an emotional cushion for yourself and build yourself back up at this stage in your life?
I think for me, having some of that distance, which is wonderful. And then I have cultivated quite a few new friendships.
Yeah.
And that is, for me, it's very important because I find joy with other people. I don't have to find joy just in my family.
Yeah.
And that's been very helpful. Being a part of your program, Sarah, has been wonderful.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Because, even when you're finished, you can go back and look at some of the coursework and say, oh, you know what, I kind of need a refresher on this or whatever it is. And I love that. Not to mention just going on your Facebook page, and you always have new things. People are always bringing up new ideas or situations, and that helps me when I'm having a bad day, or, if my mom has called me and said something that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she just said that. I mean, that just happened to me last week. And like you said, with this emotional cushion, I used to be like, oh, I'm sorry, you feel that way, or no, that's not really how I feel. And I'd be all defensive.
Mhm.
And she said this to me, and it was completely out of line. First of all, it's not how I believe. It was, sort of a Christian political belief that I don't subscribe to. And she said, oh, well, that's right, you do this. And I'm like, okay. And I literally looked at her and I laughed. And I said, that's not true. Now we're changing the subject. And we moved on. But I think in learning and being around people that are positive, and being around your program, Sarah, where you always have somebody who can talk you through something. If you are having a situation and you don't know how to deal with it, I know I can go on the Facebook page and somebody in your group will reach out and say, you know what, I just dealt with this too, and this is what I did and it worked.
Yep.
And that's so helpful.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. I'm so thankful for that. And I want to give you a kudos just then in the way she handled her mom. Talking about the tools in the toolbox, the pivot. right?
Yeah.
When she said you started talking about, she started talking about something you did not want to talk about, and you did not say, "You evil witch, I'm hanging up on you." That's kind of one of my new things right now is women realizing that they don't always have to bring the hammer to stay safe.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, oh, I've been a doormat. There's somewhere between doormat and hammer.
Yeah.
And that lovely little pivot she did of, okay, let's change the subject, is all
Yes.
it took. And she does not have to spend Christmas morning alone thinking she's not seeing her mother that day. And I commend you for that for sure. You've learned well.
I'm a good teacher.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's such a lovely thing to build that tribe for yourself. I developed a new tribe. I still had some people from my old tribe for sure who went with me through hell, and I will love them till the day I die. If they get cancer, I'm like showing up at the hospital. I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for the people who stuck with me through my own trials. And then to have a lovely new tribe too, where it's
Mhm.
like, these people get me and they get the new you.
Right. And I think it's so neat when you say that you still have some people from your past who stuck with you. And isn't it, I think it's so wonderful for those friends to see you change,
Yes.
because I've got friends like that too. And they're like, you are a whole, you're back to who you used to be before all of this, and I guess I'm talking more with some of the toxic like love relationships that I've had where, they've kind of torn me down and whatnot. But, I just went walking this morning with one of my friends from my past, and she said, "You're the Michelle I used to know way back when, and you were so downtrodden, and you just didn't have that spark in your eyes like you used to have." And she said, she wanted to hug me, but with the times of COVID and all that, she's like, I'm air hugging you right now because I'm so proud of you and I'm so happy for me to have my friend back.
Oh, that's beautiful. And Michelle, when did we talk the first time? How long has it been?
I think it's been about 2 months. I believe it
And,
was in June. Yeah.
can we like go back to that, like 2 freaking months, like for her friend to have noticed that? Because so many women think the only option is like you have scars forever, you are in pain forever, like there's no hope for you, you will always be. I mean, 2 months, and now Michelle has taken it very seriously and very intensely for 2 months, but 2 months for her friend to say, I got my person back.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
huge. That's huge. So what would you say to somebody who was kind of stuck in their own healing process and wondering, if there's ever any hope for them, or will it ever get better, or that's too good to be true, like she can't feel that much better? And I thought it was a little bit longer than 2 months. I didn't even know you were about to say that. I was thinking 4. But that's amazing. That's amazing. So if there was a woman and she was like, well, I'll get to my healing later, well, maybe I'll think about it, well, maybe I'll what would you tell someone in that situation?
I think because it did take me a while to get to talk to you. So I ended up living with my last love relationship we had a relationship for 3.5 years, and I lived with him for about a year. And I knew as soon as I moved in, it wasn't getting any better. And I thought, if I moved in, I would make things better, because then I'd get up and make him breakfast and make him lunch and blah, blah, blah.
You'd work harder. You would work harder, then
Yes.
the relationship would work. Yes.
Right. And I knew I shouldn't have done that. But I kept thinking, oh, it'll get better. Or, oh, I know now I learned about it. I did that learning phase. And you've got that pyramid, and I'm not going to be able to say
Oh, the
exactly what.
healing pyramid. Like, yeah, what
Yeah.
stage of healing are you in? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And, I could totally resonate with all of those steps because I was there in every step. And so I think if I were talking to somebody who is in one of those lower steps, Yes, it's great to understand, because I think that is important to know why they're treating you the way they are. Because it helps you know, first of all, that it isn't you,
Yeah.
even though they want to make it you. But then it's a mental, it's like a mental jump. You have to say, you know what, I love me more than I'm being treated like this. And because of that, I am going to start healing. And you have to make that mental shift in your head to say, I am going to start learning to thrive and not just survive.
And start planning for your life
Yes.
rather than studying your toxic person.
Exactly, because you're just giving that person the power. You, if you keep thinking about them, if you've decided to leave the relationship like I did, and it was so hard, because this is another one of those terms, but I was so trauma bonded.
Mhm.
I mean, it is like an addiction. It's like trying to break free from, alcoholism or heroin or whatever. And you literally go through withdrawal because it's so in your head that's you just need it. But you have to work past that. And all of a sudden, you wake up one morning and you say, you know what? I didn't dream about that person last night. And I am going to get up, and it's a beautiful sunny day, and I'm going to go for a walk. And I still do. I listen to my empowerment music, and I put my headphones on and I go walking. So that increases my endorphins, and I'm happy, and I'm listening to powerful, you can do this type music. And then getting together with friends who are a positive in your life. It's always great to find support groups and stuff, but I think sometimes, because I did this too, I got into support groups, but everybody was lamenting. And so for me, I was like, okay, I want to be there to help other people, but I don't have the strength yet to really be there. And I don't want to listen to just negativity. I have to be in a positive place.
Well, you
And
probably don't know this. There are three, sometimes four people it takes to monitor the Finding Love and Success group,
mm-hmm.
because it is just constant vigilance. And it's got great women in there, but there's so many. It's usually under the term like narcissistic, support group, or narcissistic recovery, or empath recovery, or something like that. And it can become it can feed that addiction
Yeah.
to be able to think about them, to be able to hear that story, to get those dopamine hits of like, because you're learning more about the toxic person,
Yes.
right? Or it's like,
Yes.
oh, that girl went through that too. Oh, we can all be sad together. And it's like
Yeah.
the amount of work that comes into keeping, and there's, it's a hard subject. It's a hard subject. And that careful balance of, giving people a safe place to find help, and then being really conscientious about, this is about finding love for yourself, love for your tribe, love, eventually romantic love, and success after a toxic relationship is very different. Somebody kind of said that one time, they said, well, isn't this group for venting? And I said, no, I can give you a list for those groups if you like.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to see the same people in there 3 years from now, still going on about the same stuff, right? And what I want to see 3 years from now, in my group is like, oh my gosh, like Shauna, it's like, oh, I got engaged, or my book's coming out, or, whatever it is. Because it's about finding love and success after a toxic relationship, not feeding the obsession of toxic relationships.
Exactly. Yes. And that's why your program I think it's so successful. And that's why, I came to your group ready. I mean, I know there are different people in different aspects of their life and their
Sure.
healing, but I think that's why it hasn't taken me that long, because I came saying, I've had enough. I am sick of being sad. I'm sick of being sick. I mean, it had taken a toll on my body. And I was talking to my friend this morning when we went for a walk, and I said, I have some tendon issue in my thumb where I couldn't bend it, and it's better, and I haven't seen a doctor, you know?
I know. This Steph, I swear to you, on our first phone call, if I had told you all the improvements you would see in your life, I like hide it. Like I hide how well it's going to work half the time because people would assume I was lying. But now you've been in the group enough, you've seen enough success stories, including your own, little things like that. But you're like, oh, and I am very confident about the information and transformation I deliver. But mostly what I'm confident about is toxic relationships are absolute hell. They are
Yeah.
hell. And if I can talk you in to putting the same work into your future that you put into trying to fix that relationship, that's my job is easy. That's it. It's like,
Yeah.
and even people now are like, oh gosh, Sarah, how are you like functioning? Like, how do you do all this stuff in your life? And it's like, oh, I'm not people pleasing anymore.
Yeah.
I'm working harder than I used to. I'm not wondering what people are thinking about me, who I'm making mad, what mood somebody's going to be in all the time, and it's just, it's very simple. And that's what you said you'd had enough. But what I heard and what I hear from you is you finally chose you.
Right.
That it was and you took your eyes off the toxic people in your life and put them back onto you.
Exactly. Yes, definitely.
Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. Thank you so much for sharing a bit of your journey with us and talking about all kinds of toxic people in your life. And thank you so much for the person you are and for helping others through their journey too.
Well, thank you, Sarah. And I just want to say thank you again for all you do, because I am here today because of you. And I really do appreciate all of your support and guidance. And I can't say enough about your program.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, see ya.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.